Hi, I'm Bill Patton with 720 Degree Tennis. I'm coaching, and in the back you can hear the toaster being operated by my daughter. And I've got Sean Drake on the show. And
Good morning.
Both of us are wound up and ready, and there could be some freestyle rap that happens in this.
There could be something going on for sure.
Well, because I think what we want to do is we want to stretch the parameters, and tear the edges of the envelope.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into positive health habits, and some of those are actual physical things that you do, and some of them are mental practices that you use. And so, Sean, why don't you quickly introduce yourself for those who might not know you, and give a little bit of your.
You mean you didn't just introduce me?
No,
morning. Man. Dr. Sean Drake. I am blessed. I get to work in the sports medicine world. I work with a lot of amateur to pro athletes. I'm blessed to run our company called Racket Fit that we've partnered with the USPTA and multiple other NGVs on trying to help tennis professionals, medical providers, and strength coaches understand the tennis athlete a little bit better, breaking out the tennis athlete, working on base Q and baseball, softball. I consult for a lot of different programs, and overall I'm always trying to surround myself with the best in human performance and biohacking, body hacking, mind hacking, spiritual. I think it's a really important thing to be involved with. And so it's always good to get in line with you, go back and forth, run some ideas. We're in quarantine right now, so I think this is a really good topic. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about like toxicities of your environment, how to stay healthy in there. So, I'll hit on that a little bit, but yeah, that's pretty much where we're at there.
And you have a nice boy band haircut.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my agent was actually, said that I need to shave, but Gillette's low on razors right now. So the only place you can get them is on Amazon. It's going to take 3 to 5 days. So I apologize about that.
Right on. Yeah.
But I got my conference call casual on. So I got my board shorts and my shirt and my tie. And, that's a big thing right now. Showing up happy and healthy is showing up for your life. And, we'll talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And you threw me off because your material was so strong. Your kung fu was too strong for me on that one.
I doubt that, Bill, but thanks.
So, all right. So let's get right into it. I mean, what's one really good habit that maybe a lot of people who are coaching and they're so other centered and they don't take care of themselves as well as they should? What's one really easy thing to start doing like now to
time
take
management?
care of themselves?
Time management is number one.
Okay.
So I think the big thing is like, we live by our diary calendars, meetings, schedules, etc. But what we don't really put into play, and it's something I've really been hammering in quarantine at least, is the normality of what we think is normal versus what's toxic normal, what's actually like beneficial normal, and then what is the reality of normal coming out of this. And so I think the biggest thing right now is time management, how you wake up and how you go to bed. I think those are two of the biggest things that you can do right now as a tennis professional or as a professional or anybody that's, going through quarantine or life is, waking up, having a mindset of where you're going to be for the day, something that you're grateful for, and then more importantly, taking time to really appreciate, what you have and then making your bed. I think that's number one. That's, being a military kid, that was something that my parents instilled in me from a young age. I hated it, but I'm grateful I have it now. And then when you go to bed, you have a clean bed, and then you can be like, you know what, I'm gonna let go of the day, and like turn your electronics off an hour ahead of time before you go to bed, and really be mindful of not taking caffeine past 2 or 3 o'clock, and then you've got the day.
Yeah. One thing I started doing a couple of months ago is the first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning is I have a full glass of water.
I like that.
So I want to kind of tell you a little bit about my story. For quite a while, I sort of let myself go.
Mm-hmm.
My competitive days were over, and I was kind of a workout beast. I was like, at one point I had a resting heart rate of 42.
Nice.
Thank you. And I was proud of that, and I was super, super fit. And but then, I got hurt and I had some surgeries, and I started coaching more and playing less, and then coaching got stressful. So every time I came home, I had my beer, and if it was an extra hard day, then I had two, and if two was really good, maybe I lost track.
Lost track. I like it.
And I got myself easily 30 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
So, and I've been inspired by some coaches that I'm not going to name who I've seen who really dedicated themselves recently to getting more fit.
Yeah.
And I see coaches who, unfortunately, like I was, they're fat. They're 30 or more pounds overweight, and it's not a great look. It's not a good example, right? But then not only that, but I started to feel what I thought was the early onset of type 2 diabetes. So I pretty radically got on a program to try to reverse that. So if people are in a bad place because they kind of just let themselves slip, where's another good place for them to start with that?
I think there's two ways to look at this, because I think we have to be really mindful about talking about weight on what we think looks unhealthy, what we think is unhealthy, because I can take and show you some of my pictures in MLB, and you would be like, they look like they're overweight, they're big guys, especially like some of the pitchers that we work with, but they're super athletic and fit just in their own way. And so I tell people, it's not how you look, it's how you function inside that affects how you're actually going to perform on the outside. So yeah, there's a lot of people that may, quote, be unhealthy from the outside. However, they can be a lot more, healthy on the inside. So that's really where.
Okay, I want to break in on that, because I think it's a really good fine point you put on, a really good qualifier. All right, but I want to go back to me.
Yeah.
And say I was functioning like a fat pig.
Okay.
Well,
that's fine.
It's good to talk about, to go wrong. You don't want to go wrong with it. It's not about being judgmental. It's not about thinking I know better for you than you know better for yourself. But I'm sure people can relate to the fact that they feel like a fat pig.
Well, man, that's harsh. I think,
it is harsh. I'm speaking from my perspective.
No, I totally get that. But I also think that just that, when especially somebody in psychology, when we speak that way to ourselves, that changes, a clinical and the subconscious, neurological pattern.
Yeah.
So whether you've been bullied as a kid, or maybe, you were athletic, you let yourself go, or what I think is interesting is, the biggest reason we have a pandemic right now, I think, in the world is because so many people are unhealthy. So they've already got a, compromised immune system. Now you have this COVID-19, or you have some other issue come in. That's why it's hitting the majority of people. So if you are unhealthy, or you feel you're unhealthy, I think that you need to be mindful and loving of yourself where you're at. Because I think that if you just go into bashing, you're going to move in the opposite direction. You might move to comfort foods. You might move to a comfort drink, or you might move to a comfort drug, or you might go get a prescription drug, instead of saying, you are still amazing. Okay, let's look at where you're at. Let's set a blueprint. Let's set a mindset. And then from there, let's set some goals.
Yeah, because I used to say to myself, I'm juicy.
Juicy. All right.
All right. So no, I mean, this is really funny how this is going, and I really like how you're kind of pulling apart the stuff that I'm throwing at you. So, all right, now, okay, but let's say someone's being sort of abusive to themselves. I mean, so they kind of have to start with self-love in order to be able to start to make the first steps. Is that the point?
Well, I mean, first of all, they have to accept that they have a problem, if they have a problem. And that could be, again, physical, it could be mindful, it could be spiritual, it could be biochemical. And so that's where these things come into play, especially as a patient or somebody who's trying to do this. This is why most people fail with diets. They fail with workouts. They fail with plans, because they don't have they don't affect the limbic system, which actually creates long-term change. And so when you're looking at making a change, you've got to come and be like, I'm ready, 100%. I'm willing to do this, or you got to have different verbiage. You got to change the way you speak to yourself, the way that you speak to your environment, the way you speak to what you're trying to accomplish. Because if you do not set yourself up for that, you will fail. Majority of people, you look at the lifestyle that we live, you look at the marketing that's in our marketing, it's all made to self-gratification, super quick. It's all dopamine and serotonin response. It's very fast and drastic. So we have people addicted to these lifestyles that are not benefiting them with a long-term change.
Okay, let's pause for a second, because that was jam-packed. All right.
Yep.
So
we talked about the limbic system.
Okay, while you were saying that, I was thinking about how God spoke and the world was created. And
Yep.
I really am a firm believer in you speak your reality and you create your own reality. So now take what you just said and try to boil it down a little bit more into, something a little bit more concise. Because I love what you were saying there. It was just a lot.
Totally. And that's where you got to keep things simple. Again, you and I are having a conversation now on like what's the reality and science and everything behind that. And then we keep it simple to, hey, here's the action plan.
Right.
Number one, are you ready and willing to change? Like, that's number one. Like, do you really want to change? Or is it just the fact that like you're feeling down at the moment? Number two, have you actually taken the time to write it down and put on paper what you want in life? Like, that's key. And then do you have that in a place that you can visually see every day and be like, look, this is what I want. And now I can actually prepare, which us as athletes and coaches know how to create an opportunity or create a system for success. So now you go ahead and you put that and you instill it. So that's got to go into your daily routine. That's got to go into your recap. That's got to go into your self-inventory that you go throughout the day. Like, if you've wronged somebody, like, write that down, amend that. If you've, created, an opportunity or a different situation at work that wasn't, successful for you or caused anger or frustration, check in on that, clear it up. So those are some of the things that, I talk to a lot of people about when it comes to being healthy. Or if I sit down as a patient, you come into me and you're like, hey doc, I've got this, and this going on. I'm like, okay, great. Well, what's that affecting? I need to know why you're wanting to change. I need to know, number one, like, what's your reasoning for seeing me? What's your reasoning for checking in? What's your reasoning for doing it? Once I know that, then we can actually start making some changes.
Okay, let's go back to writing for a second.
Yeah.
So part of the power of writing is that it becomes something outside of you that you then can look at.
Mm-hmm.
Another important thing is that it involves so many senses, because when you write, you have the tactile experience of it. You see your own writing, so you've got the visual, right? And then you can probably even hear the words in your own head in your own voice.
Yes.
So now you can take a step back from what you've written and go, oh, that's what's in my head.
Yeah, well, and more importantly, it gets you clear on everything that you want, because we have so much stuff going on up here. Like, let's face it, look at people in quarantine at the moment. Like, people don't know what to do with rest. I'm one of those people. Like, I have learned so much in the last 14 days that the one thing that I'm not going to continue when I get out of this is the go hamster wheel lifestyle. Like, I am seriously putting things in my schedule to take time off and recharge and really reevaluate where I'm at. One thing that we talk about in some of the best coaching programs in the world when you take these like leadership courses is being able to recap and reevaluate what you've done. Like, can you go back and relook at what you're doing and being like, okay, that worked, that didn't. What was best? Great. What can I do better? Not what was wrong, but what was good and what can I do better? What was good? What can I do better? So you're always staying in that subconscious of positivity, but more importantly, like, you're focusing on those strength points.
Okay, awesome. And, this is something that when I was in my teaching credential, this was a big part of what I learned, was to be a reflective teacher.
Yeah.
And so, and one of the applications that I use in my lessons is at the end of every single lesson, the kids or the adults, whoever they are taking the lesson, have to say back what their takeaways were. Mm-hmm. And I limit them to maximum 3. So, because in an hour, your brain can only really, process 3 concepts in an hour is what, that's been brain science from the 70s, right? But anyway, so this art of reflection.
Yep.
Right? What's working? What went well? What could be better? And you don't even really have to get into negatives, right?
No, I never allow negative. And that's funny, never allow. That's double negative, but fine. But it's one thing that we don't focus on. Like, I mean, seriously, like there's people that want to have controversy. They want to stay in that bubble. Like if you've got athletes, or you've got, clients right now that are constantly negative, that's toxic for you at this moment. That's toxic for you when we're out of this. Like, if you're just doing it for the money, trust me, you can attract clients and patients that you want that fit your energy system and how you live. And they're going to refer more people like them. So don't put up with toxic people. Don't put up with a toxic work environment. Like if you're not happy and you're not thriving, like find the best soil to jump into so you can grow and be the best in your life. You only got one chance at this, hopefully.
Yeah, I think Johnny Paycheck said it really well. Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more, right? But now, okay, so which brings us to another thing. I mean, obviously, jobs and work right now are very heavily in transition, and we don't. There's so much that is unknown about how soon or when or if that's going to turn around. I mean, I just heard something this morning that there could be maybe, and I also, before I even say the number, I also want to say I don't prescribe to culture of fear messages.
Yep.
But I do believe in being prepared for worst case scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
you preface that. I got it.
Yeah, no, I want to couch that, completely. I want that to be in perspective. But they're saying that possibly up to 24 million people could be out of work by October.
Yeah, but that's a reality. I mean, here's the thing is that we cannot ignore facts at the moment. Like running off of emotion is how we get in trouble at the moment. Like you've got to, I'm not saying don't have emotions, don't, have the feeling. I think it's important to go through grieving and mourning and frustration and anger. And if you're happy or celebrating, those are things you need to honor. However, what I will say is that you've got to be prepared. You've got to be able to, one of the things that I would be doing in quarantine right now as a tennis professional, if I was not working, or even another coach or a professional, is finding your tribe who can help support you at this moment. Is there a place that you can go or people that you can be around in this quote quarantine world where you can feel that you're supported? Are there programs like small business loans right now? If you're an SBA, you've got, those opportunities, stimulus plan. Like there are people in our industry that are sharing good quality information on how to get that money in unemployment, how to file for unemployment. Like, don't feel bad. Like this is one thing that I think is really important about being happy and healthy in quarantine right now is don't feel guilty and don't feel like you're a failure because you're applying for some of this stuff.
Right.
That's what help is there for. And me personally, like I've always had a hard time asking for help. And so being able to ask for help right now is something you should honor and know that this is going to help you get through this next step.
Well, here's a Babylon Bee headline that might help you, right? Okay.
By the way, Babylon Bee is a satire site. I'm just going to point that out.
I don't even want to qualify it. I want to let people discover that on their own. Because I'll tell you what, if anybody who's watching this can't quickly figure out that Babylon Bee is satire, why would I explain it to them?
I gotta keep my mind quiet on that one. I can get in trouble.
Well, that's good for you. I'm not qualifying it. You probably qualify it in your line of business.
I like it.
Okay. But anyway, it said, Americans overwhelmingly support having their money returned to them.
Yeah.
I mean, those funds that you're going to be applying for, you paid those in taxes. So, you're just getting your money back. That's all.
Well, I think the other thing too is like, understanding business, there's risk and reward with owning a business. You know what I mean? Or being in business. And right now we're in the first time ever since probably, I'd say World War II, where we're having this type of a shortage. We're having stress. We're having workforce out of play. Like, there was the crash in 2008. but it didn't affect a lot of my generation because a lot of us were in college, we were in professional school. We really didn't see it. We kind of like coasted through that. And now, most of us are professionals and we're really seeing the darkness of this. And, right now, your mindset and how you live your day-to-day life is the most important thing. How you have your day set up from morning to night. Like, that's why I started with time management. If you're working, like, do you have a space in your house set up for work? Or are you working all over the house? Because if you start working all over the house, it's going to take into your personal time, your relaxing time, your rebuilding time, your regenerating time. So that's a really important concept. Are you dressing up for work? Like getting out of routine to where you're just continuing to let yourself get, wear the same shirt, wear the same shorts, or do whatever. Like, are you dressing up for that moment? And when you're done with work, take it off and put something else on. Like, these are just some tips that I would do to, stay happy and healthy in quarantine.
Yes. Well, and I drew a blank there. Anyway, help me out here. What's our next topic that we want to get into for healthy habits, especially right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I'm gonna give you some recommendations that I think at home are really good. For me, like, I get in my Bible every day. Like, that's one thing for me. Like, I'm making sure that I'm reading my Bible. I'm reading a bunch of different books. Like, I've got Metahuman here from Deepak Chopra. I've got Overcome from a Navy SEAL, which I think is a really good book for you guys to read right now. Oh, that was bad.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So Overcome's a really good book. If you're a golfer or even a tennis player or any type of athlete, Be a Player by Lyndon Pia. This talks about how to systemize your sport. So they've got a different approach and like system. I got philosophy here. So just staying busy, like in my own mind of like how to read. If you're a parent or you're a coach and you're struggling, like, this is a really good book. This is by a guy in the UK called Winfred Dorr. And you even, Bill, I'd highly recommend this. It's called Stop Struggling in School. This goes over the importance of the cerebellum. And right now with all of us, here with what we're doing, this is a really, really good book. So doing that, if I don't know how you feel about sound healing, like, my buddy Anthony's living with me right now. And so, we do sound healing pretty much every day. My buddy did a, sound healing at his place, like setting that up. I've got red light therapy. I use a Theragun to keep my body mobile right now, doing mobility work. So these are little things that you could be doing in your day-to-day life to keep you building habits.
Okay, so let's get into sound therapy, because I first became exposed to this last year at the Omni Athlete Future of Sport conference in San Francisco. And so we had bowls like that were being used. And I was so amazed by how there was this one Tibetan bowl that the guy was using, and he played this certain frequency. And I felt an experience in my brain of something being dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and I want to show something on the screen here in a second. Let me find it for a second. On Spotify, you can put healing frequencies in a playlist, and then you'll get these different frequencies, and you can play around with different ones until you find one that does something. I had a really interesting thing where I found this one frequency and it was really doing a number on me, and I felt like something was getting dealt with. And then I went back to it and the effect was less.
Yep.
And I went back to it again and then I felt almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was disappointed.
That's like chasing a drug, right? So,
well, but here's the thing though. Then I went hunting around for other frequencies. So I guess whatever that did was done.
Well, and that could have been good for right then. Within, sound healing, you've got tonal beats, you've got different, so everything is frequency in life. How our cells work, if you look at epigenetics, you look at Bruce Lipton, you look at biology of belief, you look at spontaneous, you look at his, what am I trying to say? The honeymoon effect. Like all the books by Bruce Lipton, I highly recommend when you look at especially energy and epigenetics. And we talk about epigenetics, it's how our environment actually affects whether or not our gene turns on or off. And so sound healing is one of the things that I put into my schedule every week. Thursday night, you'll find me at, Om Acupuncture. It's basically ocean acupuncture and massage here in San Diego. My buddy, literally, I get there, get acupuncture, and then he goes into sound healing. He does sound bowls, he does Kong, he does didgeridoo, he does different things, because different people, their cells are vibrating. And especially if you've got PTSD, if you've got depression, if you've got anxiety, this is one of the coolest ways to get into parasympathetic, and that means feed or breathe or like calming down. That's your rest state part of the nervous system, but it really gets you there quick. And some people, like me, whose mind just goes zzz.
Okay. I want to challenge you to do your best impression of a didgeridoo.
Oh man.
Okay.
How about you? I thought that was pretty good.
Okay, try it at home. You have 5 seconds to do didgeridoo. If you don't know what it is, look it up on Spotify or something, or YouTube.
Or look at the show Letterkenny, first season, episode 2 or 3. It's kind of funny, the pastor plays it. But I mean, honestly, Bill, I think
people, this was anyway, keep going.
No, I was gonna say, I think you cut me off again?
Yeah, sorry.
Cut off again? Darn. All right. No, but I do think time management and routines are a really important thing right now. And like, people have got to, it's okay to, because me, I'm always like, what can I use this time for? Can I learn? Can I grow? And I saw a meme yesterday that had like, in this time, if you don't do something, if you don't learn something, you don't succeed, then you've wasted it. And I saw somebody waste it out in the bottom, be like, no, this is absolutely a traumatic time. If you're mourning, if you're feeling something, like rest, cry. And that really hit me, because since this happened, I've been going. I'm like, wait a minute, like, no, this is an okay time to stop. This is an okay time to rest. This is an okay time to say, you know what? Shut it down. Because when are you ever going to get this again? Well,
and this is something that, I've actually been, I think, pretty good at this. I think there's something strange about the way I grew up, that I always sort of was in touch with the fact of when I was getting overtired, and I would stop. And when different things were happening that made me have to pause, and this was a source of considerable conflict in my life, because nobody else was wired that way to pay attention to those signals.
Yeah.
So I'm really good at going, I feel like if I keep pushing, I'm going to get sick. So I'm shutting it down right now. Mm-hmm. Whereas other people in my family keep going on and on and on, and then they become dreadfully sick. Right. It's an interesting thing to start to pay attention to. What is your body telling you? Right. What's your brain telling you? Like, for instance, as a writer, there have been times that, I'm writing and it's very rote, but I'm getting it done. Mm-hmm. Then there are other times that I'm inspired and I'm writing a lot because it's just flowing right out. And then there are other times where I just cannot write a thing, nor do I want to write a thing, and I'm not pushing it, So when I got done writing the first edition of the Athlete-Centered Coach, what happened is at the end of that, it was completely edited. It was ready to go to print. Mm-hmm. And then I had an hour-and-a-half long conversation with a mentor coach, which completely changed the theme of the book. Yeah. And immediately I had this, oh crap experience. Like, that book now needs to be completely rewritten. And then I was like, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Not right now. So I was like, okay, I'm about to teach tennis for the summer. I'm going to rewrite that book starting in September. And Good. I did.
You did.
But because I just knew, I couldn't look at it, and it needed a break. Mm-hmm. So anyway, this is a good time for people who've thought about writing a book to start doing that. You've got some time, mm-hmm. And so what are some of the physical habits for, if we just go sort of conventional health wisdom,
Yep.
because a lot of the stuff that you're saying is really awesome, but I think it's a little bit, it might be a little bit outside of people's comfort zone to start looking into that.
Well, I think that's you assuming, and I mean that politely, because I think right now a lot of people are open to a lot of different things, and instead of the normal routine, they're like, I don't have time. Well, hey, maybe I do have time to look at that sound healing thing, or maybe I do have a little bit extra money where I can order a red light, or maybe I can do this. So I think right now is, we can't put limits on anybody at the moment, and I'm never going to do that with any client or anybody that I mentor or friends. So when I look at like, what are your basic things that you don't need to go buy something? Number one, obviously, is hygiene. I think that's, making sure that you're showing up every day. And two, like you said, drinking water in the morning is really important. I like water with lemon. I do, fresh ginger and turmeric if you can juice. I think that's always good, or juice. If you're in, like, there's different people with different philosophies on nutrition. I think nutrition's a big thing. I think right now, a lot of our kids go to sugar, and their parents don't even realize it, how much sugar those kids are taking in from high fructose corn syrup and GMO food, and like I can go down the conspiracy hamster wheel, but it's not the time. So I think that food's a really important thing. I think what we listen to, I think music and like what we watch, what we do in our daily life affects us on the cellular level, which affects our output. I think our relationships are like majorly important, how we handle our relationships. And again, it's no joke, and it's definitely serious that the people that you surround yourself with are definitely going to be your tribe and how you grow, or how you like retract and how you get pulled down. It's like the crab analogy. You put a bunch of crabs into a hot, boiling water, they're going to start, and they're trying to climb out over each other. They're going to keep pulling each other down. And so like, you don't want to be around that. So I think those are just basic concepts, but people don't realize, and even me, this quarantine's really showed me, like, holy cow, like I can see the toxic people in my life, like that I know that I'm probably not going to go back to when we get out of here. I know the people that are reaching out, like, and not only that, but I can see the ones that are actually have been there, like supporting and helping me thrive and being there. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm going to double down on those relationships. So just some little things.
Yeah. And, you said it's no joke, and so I'm going to use that as my segue into jokes. So Gerard Piccolomini, Piccolomini, what a name. He must be Italian. He says, I'm proud of myself. I just finished my first book. Next week, I'm going to go color another one.
Wow.
But I like that though, because it's playful, right? I think part of what we also need to do is we need to maintain our sense of humor, because it was Winston Churchill, who the English people were in a much worse situation than we're in right now, with constant bombings and whatnot from the Nazis, and they were despondent. He encouraged people to get out and laugh and go outside and enjoy the outdoors and be with your family and eat when you're hungry and sleep when you're tired.
Yeah. And I think, that's relative, because now, like, unfortunately, like, a lot of our ancestors and grandparents got pulled off to war, we're being asked to stay inside, and like, it's just, and for some people, I mean, it's just as bad and just as hard. And like, really understanding that with the change of time and change of, energy output and like the ability to concentrate, like people's concentration levels are like here right now due to our phones and everything else we do. And now they're being forced into this environment where their concentration level needs to be like right here. So there's a lot of like learning happening right now too. And so I think that as a society coming out of this on the positive note, because I don't want to focus on the, the negatives at the moment. I think there's a lot that we can do to come out of this in a positive environment. Is, what were the toxic traits that we had? Like really looking back, and we talked about this morning, my buddy Anthony on my morning show, is how do we look back to see ahead, number one. Number two, not looking back to bash yourself, but really seeing like what are the patterns that are coming up that are keeping me from succeeding, that are keeping me from getting my goals accomplished? What are the lessons that I'm not learning that I continue to do? And so like if you can get that right now and you can work on that, I mean, that's an amazing opportunity of using time in the right manner.
Yeah, Part of the reason why it took me so long to write a book was because of the subconscious stuff that held me back.
Yeah.
And so if I, so from what you're saying, I think a really good practice would be if you have a recurring thought that every once in a while pops up and then you immediately kind of smash it down, stop and write that thought down.
Totally.
Right? Like here was my recurring thought. Bill, 25 times you've written chapter 1 and then you read it back and it sucked and you crumpled those papers up. Do you really want to do this a 26th time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how many more times are you going to do this, yeah. Bill?
Well, I think the big way to wrap this up, in the world that we're in the world that we were in, the world that we're going, is you've got to have healthy habits that start with a routine, that start with some type of time management. I think gratitude every day is really good. Being able to sit still, be mindful, do some type of meditation. Even if it starts with 5 minutes, I think that's a really key thing. Look at your physical side. Like if you're in pain can come from physical, meaning immobility, you can't move well. It can come from chemical, meaning that you're toxified within your body somewhere, whether that's from food or chemicals or something else. And number 3 is neurological. You could actually have a brain situation going on that's affected how you're going to move. So those are 3 things that you can think about. The next thing is like making sure that, you're putting out positive content for your life, meaning you're setting up goals, you're setting up things that you want to do, and you're actually evaluating. Like you said, you're reflecting on a consistent basis. Like I reflect at the end of the night. I have a journal. I write down what I did for the day. I'm like, okay, cool. I look at my to-do list. Did I knock those things off? At the end of the week, I do a recap on my week. At the end of the month, I do a recap on the month. If I go speak at a conference, I always do a reflection like, okay, what was good? What can I do better? So reflection, like you said, is a very key thing. So I think if you can just start to apply some of those lessons right now, I think you're on your way to a happier and healthier time in life.
Awesome. Are we going to call that a wrap?
Can we call that a wrap? I apologize. I gotta drive over to this thing.
No, that was perfect. So, hey, Sean, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. So I think if you're watching this, I would recommend that you actually watch this one over again and have a notebook next to you and play pause because there's a lot that Sean gave us right there fast. So press pause and go, I'll capture that, write that down, work that, and then move on and watch it again later. So anyway, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Bill.
Good you for the rest of your day and your week, and we'll be in touch soon, I'm sure.
Stay safe in the Bay, brother.
All right, take care.
All right, cheers, mate.
All right, bye.